Steven, over to you. I know you have questions, buddy.
Oh man, I'm up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So the good news for the audience, I do got some questions. So what percentage of your lease option contracts are true free and clear, or all of them sub two wraps?
None of them are free and clear because I keep my properties leveraged,
Mm-hmm.
and I do that for a reason, unlike the ones you own that are free and clear, just because I like to keep money in my pocket and it's non-taxable. So if you take a DSCR loan or a loan against them, it's loaned money. Who pays that back? Your tenant buyer does, but it's free money in my pocket that I don't have to report to Uncle Sam because it's a loan money deal. So at that point, I don't have anything that's free and clear that's in my portfolios.
Your desire to not have them free clear. You want them to have. Okay.
Correct. That's my desire because I could your houses in the area here are probably $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes.
Yeah.
You know, if I can go get 300,000 and take that 300,000 and go buy another 7 or 8 homes with 20% down, my God, the cash flow is dramatic. You got it done. You don't need to borrow any money from, private money or anything to go do stuff. You have your own private source just by going out and doing a DSCR loan on them, or taking a loan against them. Don't do a qualifying loan. Do a DSCR that the property stands on its own, and now you got working capital to go out and buy more properties. You're in a prime situation if you can get. I know it's not your decision, but I get that. But I mean, that's a prime situation. The old adage is if you have $100,000 and you can go out and buy one home for $100,000, or do you take that and buy 5 homes and put 20% down and buy 5 $100,000 homes? You're going to buy 5 homes all day long and leverage
every time. Yeah, that's way better.
Because you got principal pay down, you got all this other stuff. Who cares if they got a mortgage on them? Plus, now you have the interest write-off that you get to apply against your taxes on top of that. So there's just so many other advantages. And this is coming from my attorneys and CPAs. My advisors are telling me this.
Yeah.
So this is something I've always thought of. And okay, do I want them free and clear? Everybody says, oh, go buy your rental properties, get them free and clear, and you got all this extra cash flow. Great. That's fine. That's one strategy if that's what you want to do. I've got a risk tolerance that I don't care if I have mortgages on them because there's bad liability and good liability. Mortgages are a good liability because they're making me money. Bad liability is a car, a motorcycle, a boat. That's bad.
We don't like those. Yeah, we don't like those.
Yeah.
Okay. So with your lease options, you say that year 5 is usually when they is when it's written to execute the option.
5 years.
At that time, you convert it into quote seller financing. Does that mean with what you're doing, you're getting them under a contract via sub 2, you wrap them, and then at that time when they convert it to that 5-year mark to seller financing, are you paying off the underlying note?
No.
So you're keeping that there, and you're converting that to seller financing. So you're basically just kind of rewrapping it. I don't understand.
So I have my loan, whether it be a DSCR loan, a sub 2, a seller finance, whatever, that I bought it with.
Okay.
Let's just say I bought it at $100,000 and I'm paying 5% interest. Okay. My tenant buyer in the option already says that I'm selling it to them for $105,000 or $150,000. So I have that $50,000 arbitrage already. Okay. I've been charging them X amount of lease payment over the last 60 months. I'm going to try and keep that lease payment about the same when I structure the seller financing. And how do I do that? I look at the interest rate. And what I typically do is I look at today's interest rate, and I might raise it 0.5 point, 3/4 of a point, but I want to keep it about the same because my whole philosophy is I want that cash flow for another 30 years.
Yeah.
And if I go super high, like a lot of seller finance people do, and charge them 10, 15%, they're going to want to refinance as soon as they qualify.
I'll get out of that.
I don't want that. I want the cash flow coming in. So I keep that interest rate about whatever the market rate is. Okay. I will fluctuate the payment by the term. It may be a 15-year term instead of a 30-year term to keep that payment about the same. Also, what you're going to have is you no longer have to pay taxes and insurance. The new person does. So now you still have the underlying note. And yes, that underlying note is taking care of taxes and is taking care of insurance. Okay. Yeah. They don't have to get new insurance. What they do have to get is they will be paying for this insurance over here. and you'll put them on as an additional insured.
Mm-hmm.
I always sell with an agreement for sale, contract for deed, land contract, whatever you want to call it, depending on what state you're in. So I always sell with that. So they don't get the deed. I keep the deeds. Okay. For two reasons. One, now, if I have an underlying note, it really never shows up that I've actually sold it to somebody else, to the mortgage company, if it's a sub 2. Number two, instead of a foreclosure, now I have a forfeiture. Forfeitures are easier to get by than a foreclosure if they default.
Okay.
So that's why we do an agreement for sale. But at the same time, I'm still keeping my cash flow that I had before, but I've arbitraged. Like today's rate, I'd probably be about 7.5. So now I'm arbitraging for 5. So I got 2.5 percentage points there. Plus I got $50,000, and I've got 30 years of payments or whatever it comes out to.
Yeah.
So it's actually a wrap around a wrap is what it is.
So does that mean you're in second position?
Kind of, yeah. So I still have to take care of my note underneath. If I don't make payments on this, I can get foreclosed on.
Well, on the first position.
On the first position. At the same time, the seller, if it's a sub 2, they're actually their mortgage company is actually in first position. So I'm in second position. And sometimes I'll even have a second, my private money down here. So it might be a first and second. So I'm truly in third position. Okay. But I don't care because I'm controlling these.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm controlling these.
Yeah.
So I don't care because I know these payments will be made because I'm the one making them.
That comes to my second question. How do you organize the payments between the current note, the current bank, and then your bank? How do you organize that? Is there a servicer that does it?
Servicing companies.
Okay, so you keep the current bank that's there. You set up automatic payments, I'm assuming.
Yes and no. They're not automatic payments because then you can't use a servicer. Okay. That's going to be an online thing. So servicing companies actually still do snail mail. They have no way of doing electronic payments.
Okay.
So what happens is let's call it Chase Bank is who I wrap that with.
Sure.
So then my servicing company, which it's actually here in town, Magnus Servicing is who I use. Magnus Servicing over there, they actually do a withdrawal out of my checking account once a month to pay this over here.
They do that manually.
They
can't do it automatic. Okay. And that's for all the other in your book. Okay.
Yep. And then, but if I seller finance it out, now this buyer over here that's being seller finance, they pay directly to Magnus Servicing because it's a loan situation. So they take care of all the amortization, all the bookwork, all the accounting, everything. And then whatever money they just receive for that seller finance payment, then they turn around and make the underlying mortgage payment.
Magnus Servicing?
Magnus?
No,
there's Magnus Title and there's Magnus Servicing. And we use Magnus Servicing Company. Okay. Sarah. That's who we use.
Okay. So that they basically, so that makes, so when you turn it to seller financing, they pay the tenant, the new tenant buyer, pre-owner, thank you, pre-owner, starts paying Magnus Services directly, and they pay the first note, and then pay you the difference.
Pay me the difference
because you're the bank. Okay.
Yep. And then there's some other stuff in there too. So because you have insurance down here and taxes being paid by the mortgage company on a sub 2.
Yep.
Okay. So we don't then really Magnus Servicing does not have to do an escrow account because it's already being escrowed. Okay.
By the first guy.
Yes. If the escrow account changes and adjusts because of insurance going up or taxes going up, then it gets a straight pass through to the new seller finance person.
Okay. And they get notified, and Magnus tells them increase all that.
Gives them the new payment, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Now let's take the flip side of that. Let's say it's a seller finance deal. So now I'm paying taxes and insurance, not the mortgage company. At that point, then the seller finance person, I make them escrow that with Magnus Servicing, and then Magnus Servicing pays the insurance, pays the taxes out of the escrow account.
Okay. Okay, so that probably is a giant less of a headache because they do all of it. Like
they do all of it.
Organizing. Oh my gosh, I was like, how do you keep track of all this?
Yeah, no, they take. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah.
and it's not expensive to do. It's usually about $125, $130 to set the account up. And then it's $12 for the first check, and I think $6 for every check after that they do.
Okay.
So when they're doing the escrow accounts and so forth, I think it adds up to $24 to $32 a month. But I turn around and make the seller finance person to pay for it anyway.
I was about to say that. Who do you give that to? Do you give
They
it to
do.
the 10? Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Okay.
Now, the other side of it, when I buy, I pay for the servicing side of it. But when I sell it, the new buyer pays for the servicing side of it.
So when they execute the contract,
Mhm.
execute the option, you
Yep.
make them pay the $12 or $5 fee, whatever it is.
Yep.
But then they have to pay to Magna Services. That's the only place. Okay.
That's their fee. Yep.
12
Exactly.
bucks, and that they do like they don't do Zelle or Venmo. It's like direct online ACH payments, all that.
They do ACH. They also have a portal, so they can go on and pay through a portal with a credit card or their checking account or whatever. Yeah, that's how we do it. I mean, there's nation. So Magna Servicing will only do right here in Phoenix, or they do all my properties because I've been with them for so long. So they'll do out of state, but it's because I'm here in state. They won't do anybody new outside of the state of Arizona, which kind of stinks. But there's other, just for all the other people that are on here, there's other servicing companies out there. There's nationwide servicing companies. Some of those can be a pain in the butt because you don't have one contact. You got a call center. It's always better to check with your local title companies to see if they have a servicer that will take care of you personally. And that's what we find being better.
Yeah. All right. This is super helpful. And then when you go to market, you just took it down. You're about to go list it for on wherever Zillow to get a new lease option buyer. How do you price it? Do you price it at market rents, or do you do market rents and then the option fee on the side? Do you merge it together? How do you price it?
Good question. So we advertise it typically as a rent to own. No credit necessary, that kind of stuff, trying to get people to call us. We're usually advertising. So on our calculator, you have the Renometer and you have Zillow for rents. Okay. So when we put that in there, usually one of them's higher, one of them's lower. So when we do the calculations to analyze the deal, we always use the lowest rents. To get that cash flow we want. So then when we go to market, we're going to take a look at the highest rent. Depending on the value of the property, we're going to add anywhere from $100 to $250 on top of that highest rent, because they're actually a tenant buyer. They're not renters.
Correct.
Okay. Now, none of it goes towards the principal, but it gives them the right to buy the property.
Yeah, it's the added feature. Yeah,
exactly. So we're always, that's why the cash flows are so much higher, because of the add-on for the lease options. And then that's what we market it at. And so when we're doing that, we're looking usually somewhere 800, 900, 700 is where it's hovering around if we get that particular rent. But if we need to lower it, we definitely have room to lower it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we just play with it. But when we do the pre-marketing, we're way up here to see what kind of marketing we get. We don't advertise anything about the option fee online. We wait for that person to call us so we can go through our program. And then, of course, that's all in the script, because it is scripted, because you're trying to find out, are they really wanting to be a homeowner, or they want to be a renter?
Okay? You got to weed them out.
Yep. And you got to. Now, will they always have $15,000? No, but that's why we have the option fee assistance program. But we do always look for typically a minimum of $5,000 down, and then let them make payments on the rest of it. Because typically in the homes that we're in, you know, that $100,000 to $200,000, $300,000 range, $5,000 can be a lot of money to people. It's just something they don't have sitting around. So they still have skin in the game. Obviously, we never tell them $5,000. We basically always ask them, you know what, if you and your wife go out there and your kids and your wife fall in love with this house, what's the most you have today to move in? And we shut up and listen and let them give us the number. You know, if they say, well, I got $1,000. Oh, well, you're a renter. Sorry. You know, but sometimes they'll come back and say, well, I've got 7,500, or I got 10,000, or I got 8,000, or whatever. If I would have said $5,000, I just cut my own throat. Okay.
You did, yeah. Okay.
And so I always wait for them to come back and talk about it that way, is how we do it.